Masumeen, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, dear viewers at home, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode of Imam Hussein Charity's Al-Atash campaign. Al-Atash campaign, which we have been running throughout the month of Muharram in order for us to be able to remember the Atash of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, remember the thirst of Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, and hopefully promote a bit of giving back to the community, a bit of giving back to those who are in need. Of course, you are a generous audience. You've been fantastic so far in terms of your generosity and how much you have contributed. However, in the name of Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, who we are remembering today, tonight's show is dedicated to Abil Fadl Abbas, from what he did on the day of Ashura, his life beforehand, and his legacy, the legacy that he has left today. There are many lessons that we can learn from Abil Fadl Abbas, but before I go into a bit of a reflection about his life, I want to remind the dear viewers that you can get involved by going to the QR code on your screen or the website. The website will take you to a page where there are a couple of projects that are very, very dear to Imam Hussein Charity. First and foremost, the Majalis and the Mawakib of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. The Majlis of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is the center point for wisdom, is the center point for knowledge, is the center point for tears, and it's the center point for emotion and connecting to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. The only way that we can promote the Ahlul Bayt by bringing the community together are these majalis. They are massively important in your hometowns, and they are very, very important, especially in areas like Karbala, because those who are less fortunate than us, those who are living in poverty, rely on these majalis, brothers and sisters. They rely on the mawakib for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They rely for three nourishing meals a day. They don't have to worry about their meals. At least they can worry about something else within their life. That is why we're promoting the concept of majalis, that we're promoting majalis and mawakib and donating towards majalis and the mawakib. The tabarruk, as we call it, the tabarruk campaign is £50. You can donate more towards the tabarruk in the name of your marhumin. In the name of Abil Fadl Abbas Bab al-Hawaj alayhi salam, you can contribute £50 and that goes towards the majalis. In terms of al-Atash, we need to look no further than Abil Fadl Abbas, who was so passionate and so dedicated, and his heart was like a flame when he sees the young children of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein and the orphans all crying out al-Atash. And that Atash, brothers and sisters, remains till today, because there are many orphans out there who don't have a means to drink clean and suitable water. They don't have the means to have a nourishing meal. The Al-Atash campaign is promoting 400 cups of water. £10 will go to approximately 400 cups of clean, cold water for the Zawar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In terms of, again, the theme of water, there is a £1,400 donation which goes towards building a water well, partly in your name, which means that anyone who drinks water, anyone who performs wudu, anyone who uses that water well, you will receive that thawab. However, let's take it one step further. What if you put the water well in the name of your marhumin? Those who have passed away, who are dear to you, are able to receive countless benefits and thawab in their name, because you were able to put aside £1,400 for a water well. This is what we're promoting for you today, inshallah, and this is what we're hoping that you can contribute to. Now, Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, on the day of Ashura, there are many different lessons that we can learn from him. Loyalty is one of them, because he was approached by the enemies to tell him, you are a family member, Abil Fadl Abbas. How about we offer you safe haven in return of you giving us Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? And he stands firm and he says, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is my leader, he's my imam. But one of the most significant acts, and we'll repeat it year after year after year, the most significant acts is when he stood beside the river and he brings the water up to his lips and he says, how can I drink? And oh self, he speaks to himself. And that's what I want us to do in terms of being able to reflect constantly. Reflect on ourselves, speak to ourselves, and what can we do more for the sake of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. The same burning feeling that Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam had on the day of Ashura, how can we create that flame within us to be able to give back? Now, listen, this could be giving back when it comes to money and finance and contributing. You want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Jazakumullah khairan jaza. But actually being proactive in the community, spreading awareness of the fact that poverty still exists in these countries. It is sad to hear and it's sad to see that next to the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, poverty exists. Next to the shrine of Imam Ali alayhi salam, poverty exists. How do we create or recreate that same flame, that same determination of Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam to really make a change, but actually speak to ourselves when he says, Ya nafs min ba'd al-Hussein huni. O self, after Hussein, you are nothing. So I hope to encourage the dear viewers in terms of speaking to ourselves, looking deep within ourselves to be able to make any changes that we need to do, connect to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and connect to Abil Fadl al-Abbas. On the ground right now, our team, the IHC team, are conducting numerous different reports showing you what the situation is like in Karbala. So we're going to go to a quick report from our team and inshallah we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Standing again, another mawqib of Imam Hussein charity campaign. What an honor. As we see that today, another meal is being prepared. Not one, not two, thousands of sandwiches are being distributed. And the pilgrims are not stopping. We will not stop. And the eternal flame of the love of Hussein will not stop. Brothers and sisters, more than 5 nights of Muharram have passed by. I urge you, for the ones that haven't donated, to donate again. And for the ones that have donated, donate again. Because donating in the name of Hussein will always give back. And give to Hussein for him to give back to you.
Joining me online in order to speak about Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, Bab al-Hawa'ij, and be able to connect to Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam and hopefully bring you, the dear viewers, closer to Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. I am joined by Al-Hajj Mustafa Ali Mas'ud over on the line. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, Hajj Mustafa.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصاب سيدي ومولاي أبي عبد الله الحسين عليه أفضل الصلاة والسلام.
Ahsant wa azam Allah ajurak. Also, Hajj Mustafa, thank you so much for coming online. I understand that you have a very busy schedule, so really appreciate your valuable time joining us. I just wanted to first kind of find out, I guess, in the first 6 nights that we've had in Muharram, they have flown by. How's it been for you so far?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's always a blessing, I think, to be able to commemorate the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wassalam. We have a countdown in our minds, in our hearts when it comes to Muharram.
Yeah.
And subhanallah, it's here, the 10 days are here, and we're nearly finished. So a sense of sadness that we are coming to the end of these 10 days. But that does not mean, obviously, that our commemorations for Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wassalam has to stop. That does not mean that our reform within our souls has to stop. Inshallah, this is for us to continue and inshallah become better followers of Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wassalam.
Yeah. You mentioned so astutely the reform within ourselves, and one of the main lessons that we find from Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam is that a lot of viewers, a lot of people, a lot of followers of the al-Bayt, when they want to connect to Imam al-Hussein and they follow the story of Abil Fadl al-Abbas, their reform is connected to Abil Fadl al-Abbas because of his bravery, because of his selflessness, right? So that's one of the ways that we connect to Abil Fadl al-Abbas. What were the significant acts, shall we say, that was displayed by Abil Fadl al-Abbas? First and foremost, there was a lot that we can learn about his life and what he did in Karbala. If you could just share with us 1 or 2 examples of maybe his acts of courage or bravery, so that we can connect the viewers to Abil Fadl Abbas through these examples.
Ahsant. I think it's important to also understand that Abil Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi was with other brothers of Imam al-Hussein. In some narrations, he had 3 brothers from al-Banin. Other narrations, other maqatil mention that Imam al-Hussein had even other brothers from other mothers. In some narrations, I've come across maybe 7 brothers that Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wassalam had obviously from different mothers, all from the same father, Amir al-Mu'mineen Salamullahi alayhi. But notice that we only remember Abu al-Fadl Abbas in this way. We only distinguish Abu al-Fadl Abbas Salamullahi alayhi. What makes al-Abbas unique that we remember him and not any other brother? What makes Abu al-Fadl Abbas so unique that millions around the world will either commemorate Abu al-Fadl Abbas on the 7th, or some communities on the 8th of the month of Muharram. They dedicate a specific night for Abu al-Fadl Abbas, unlike his other brothers. And that really, to answer your question, that is a part of the answer. That Abu al-Fadl Abbas Salamullahi alayhi must have done something so amazing, and he must have been so unique, that it's the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he is distinguished in this way. And so many narrations speak about his loyalty and his courage. When it comes, I think, to getting to know Abu al-Fadl Abbas and know about his courageous acts, you just have to look at his ziyarah. And one of the lines that stands out is Al-Muti'u lillahi wa li rasulih. He was obedient to Allah and to his messenger. That tells us that Abu al-Fadl Abbas Salamullahi alayhi, even though he did not meet the Holy Prophet, he was someone that was obedient. How is he showing his obedience to the Holy Prophet when he hasn't met him? He's showing his obedience to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam when he is showing his obedience to his brother Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wa salam. Not once does Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi question his brother. Not once does he say, oh Imam al-Hussein, why have you done this? Why should we not do this? You know, even in the battle, even in the anything that took place throughout his life, not just in Karbala, throughout his life, he never ever questions his Imam al-Hussein. Not only does he see him as his older brother,
Yeah.
which is the most beautiful thing, but he also sees him as his Imam.
Yeah.
And therefore he was obedient to Imam al-Hussein on the first level, and that's why we hear al-Muti'u lillahi wa li rasulih. Of course, lillah, he makes it clear that everything that I will do in obedience to my master Imam al-Hussein is actually obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is going out to defend his religion. He is going out to defend his values. He is going to go out on the day of Karbala and defend the principles that were taught to him by his father and his mother. And when you mention Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi afdal salatu wa salam, no doubt you have to mention his mother and his upbringing. That from day one, al-Baneen, when she came to the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi, she told Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, do not call me by my name Fatima. Why should I not call you Fatima? Because you will remind Hassan, Hussein, Zainab, Kulthum alayhum salam of their beloved mother Fatima.
So
I don't want to upset them.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to I guess, bring your attention to, there are a lot of challenging times that people go through, whether they're in the West, but more importantly, those who are unfortunately in need of our help, those who are less fortunate than ourselves, they go through challenging times every single day. How can we draw parallels between the struggles of Abu al-Fadl Abbas as a source of bravery and courage, and apply it to those who are less fortunate than us?
That's a very interesting and beautiful question. I think we always have to look at the way Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi displayed himself on the day of Ashura. No doubt he was going through the most difficult time, the most trying times. Trial after trial, tribulation after tribulation. Yet Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayhi always looked at life positively. And that's the first thing I think we need to learn, is that to look at life in a positive way. Imagine he's about to go and drink some water. He hasn't probably drank water for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
He probably hasn't eaten. A lot of people mention the Atash. And I know that we have a campaign called Al-Atash at Imam Hussein Charity. A lot of people mention the Atash. Don't forget there's also hunger alongside this Atash. They haven't eaten and drank water. They haven't eaten anything. And, in the heat of the desert of Iraq, and you haven't drank water for 2 or 3 days, he enters into the water and he speaks to himself. And this is the positive that I want to speak about. يا نفس من بعد الحسين هوني وبعده لا كنت أن تكوني هذا حسين وارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين. Abu al-Fadl Abbas سلام الله عليه when he enters into the Furat, we have a hadith that says, one of our Imams says, Kana qalb, the heart of my uncle Abu al-Fadl Abbas was like a hot flame because of what he was going through for not drinking water for 2 or 3 days. Yet he doesn't think about himself. He puts someone else before him. And that's what we always need to do. See, my dear brother Mullah Ali, we live in a world where greed has taken over. I mean, you all remember 2 or 3 years ago when COVID hit, there was people fighting over toilet tissue paper. There were people fighting over soap and hand sanitizer. There were people queuing up and fighting over vegetables and fruits. It's all about myself. We've now become sadly, humanity, all they care about is themselves. Whereas Islam and the al-Bayt teach us that no, think about others before you think about yourself. Love for your brother what you would love for yourself. So many hadiths telling us that you must think about the ummah. You must think about fellow Muslims. You must think about those people that are deprived, about the orphans. And therefore, I think the most important lesson we gain from Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayh is he puts others before him. I mean, Abu al-Fadl Abbas salamullahi alayh went out to get water. Why? Because he could not take the children crying out, al-Atash, al-Atash. When he comes to Imam Hussein, he doesn't seek permission from Imam Hussein to say, let me go out and fight. No. He says, because Imam Hussein does not allow him, he says, وَهَذِهِ صَرَخَاتُ الْأَطْفَالِ تُنَادِي الْعَطَشِ الْعَطَشِ تُقَطِّعُ أَحْشَائِي. I cannot take it. Out al-Atash, al-Atash, and I cannot do anything about it. Yeah. And that's why Imam Hussein alayhi afdal salatu wasalam tells him you can go and seek and gain and try and get water for the children. And that's what I think we should learn from Abu al-Fadl Abbas. There are many lessons, eternal lessons from the life of Al-Abbas salamullahi alayh. Right. But if we say when it comes to giving, he puts others before him.
So just lastly, in terms of that specific example of giving, how can we translate his selflessness to promote more of a culture of giving within our communities?
When they cut his right arm, he doesn't call out in pain. He doesn't say, why did I come out and put others ahead of me? Wallahi in qata'tumu yamini, inni uhami abadan an deen. That even if you cut my right arm, I'm going to defend my faith. I'm going to defend my imam. And I'm going to have yaqeen. Because this imam is the imam that I am obedient to. This imam who is my brother, I don't just see him as my brother. And I am his backbone, but I also see him as my master. Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi afdal salatu wasalam on the day of Ashura embodied everything that is about selflessness. Everything that is about sacrifice. If you want to define what selflessness is, if you want to define what sacrifice is, just put the word Abbas next to it. Because Abbas alayhi afdal salatu wasalam showed us on the day of Ashura that it doesn't matter if I'm thirsty. It doesn't matter that if my right and my left arm are cut. It doesn't matter if there's an arrow struck in my eyes and my body is filled with arrows. What really matters to me is that the water carrier was struck. He did not feel pain when they cut his right or left arm. He did not feel pain. You know, we talk a lot about mental health. What kind of mental health did Abu al-Fadl Abbas have? What kind of foresight does he have? Basira. You know, we mentioned a hadith from the Imam that he says Abu al-Fadl Abbas had basira. What kind of foresight does he have that even though his right and his left arm are cut, even though there's an arrow struck in his eyes, the only thing that saddens Abu al-Fadl Abbas is that the water drops, is that he cannot go back to Sukaina, to Ruqayya, and give them water. And hence when his brother Abi Abdullah al-Hussein comes to bid farewell to al-Abbas, and Abu al-Fadl hears the footsteps of his brother, he says, and he cannot see. One eye's got an arrow, the other is filled with blood. He says, "Imhilni daqa'iq." Spare me a few moments. So my brother Hussein can come. So I can kiss him one final time. And this breaks Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdal salati wassalam. Breaks him. He sits next to his brother. He says, "Let me return you back to the tent." And this is the point that I want to make. How can we live in a world where there are children deprived from eating and drinking, and we can continue living? How can we live in a world where there are orphans, who are also orphans of Amir al-Mu'mineen, orphans of Imam al-Hussein, living near Karbala and Najaf, living near these holy shrines, and they're deprived from water, and they're deprived from food? We will be questioned about them, and we are living normally. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, what does he tell Imam al-Hussein? Tells him, "Don't take me back." Why? He says, "I'm shy, I'm embarrassed." Why are you embarrassed, Ya Abbas? He says, "I promised Sukayn and Ruqayya samut. I can't go back." Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi afdal salati wassalam teaches us that your number one priority is to serve others and be obedient to your Imam. We also have a living Imam. Are we feeling his pain during these days? If you are feeling the pain of the Imam, then that pain in your heart needs to turn into action. It's not just a pain that you should feel, an emotion in your heart. No, it should lead to action. What's that action? That action is to support others. So when you can, inshallah, be a person that faces Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, you say, "Imam al-Hussein not only affected my heart, he affected my tongue and my actions." And therefore, inshallah, I ask that our dear brothers and sisters not only shed their tears for the Atash of Abbas, but also follow it with some action, inshallah, and join this campaign of Al-Atash.
Ahsant, Hajj Mustafa, may Allah bless you, bless your words, bless your heart and your tears, and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant you the intercession of Abu al-Fadl Abbas on the day of judgment, the day when we all need it, and I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept what we give towards Abu al-Fadl Abbas. Thank you so much, Hajj Mustafa. Any last words that you want to mention?
Jazakumullah khair al-jaza. I want to obviously thank all the brothers and sisters at the Imam Hussein charity. May Allah bless you, inshallah. And of course, all the brothers and sisters at the Imam Hussein Media Group. May Allah bless you, for you are spreading the message of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Addamallahu ujurakum, inshallah. And please remember me in your du'as.
Ahsantum, Hajj Mustafa. Thank you so much for your time, and inshallah we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Inshallah.
So that was Hajj Mustafa Masood with wisdom and tears. And I think what's very, very important to note is that Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, yes, we can learn lessons from what he achieved on the day of Ashura, but also what he had achieved during his lifetime as well. And the most important thing about that is selflessness. We hear it every single year, brothers and sisters, but do we actually put into action the teachings of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam? The details are on your screen, the QR code, the website. Essentially, the way you can join this campaign is very, very simple. £50 goes towards the majlis, the tabarruk, so that we can teach and tell people about the story of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. Tell everyone about the story of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and spread that message far and wide, because there are lessons to be learnt, and we want people to take lessons from history and what happened in history, because the thirst remains, brothers and sisters. The thirst remains. So £10 goes towards approximately 400 cups of clean, suitable water for the Zawar of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and the £1,400 goes towards the water well campaign as well. We're going to go to a very small break. After that, we're going to be joined by our guest for today, Sayyid Ali Nawab, who will be talking more about Abu al-Fadl Abbas's life, and inshallah be able to connect to him through tears and emotions. Inshallah, we'll see you soon.
In the tragic month of Muharram, one of the most significant acts is the provision of tabarruk and niyaz for Husseyniyas worldwide.
In a world plagued by hunger and the merciless killing of Shia Muslims on a daily basis, it becomes our duty to give to those in need. Countless Husseyniyat Imam Bargas and centers cook meals to nourish their local communities as the masses gather to remember Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam.
And do you know what? The orphans and widows absolutely cherish it.
During this time of year, hundreds of thousands of orphans, widows and people living in poverty rely on niyaz and tabarruk.
Just imagine the profound impact a single plate of food, a glass of water, or a bag of fruit can have.
These simple items can nourish a hungry child, bring comfort to a struggling family, and even inspire a brighter future.
However, we cannot do this alone. We need your help to create a lasting impact this Muharram.
Join us in this collective effort to provide basic necessities that every human deserves.
Make your niyaz count and donate your tabarruk now so that it can reach the Husseinis and the Zainabis of today.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Imam Hussein TV. You are watching the Atash campaign or exclusively for Imam Hussein charity on Imam Hussein TV. So we are delighted to have you back here, and many thanks for tuning in, essentially in what is a show that is dedicated to Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. We are hoping that the dear viewers at home, especially on a night like this, in some communities, some cultures, they commemorate Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. And this whole night is dedicated to learning more about his life, his legacy, and what he left for us to be able to put into our lives. In terms of giving back, Abil Fadl Abbas is known for his selflessness, for his bravery, for his courage. There's a lot that we can learn from Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. And so hopefully we can take examples from his life and put it into our life today and be able to contribute. And the way we can contribute is very simple. There's a QR code on your screen, which will take you to a website. The website will give you some options in terms of what you can donate to. We are promoting majalis this year, the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, specifically in Iraq. We've seen the reports from our brothers in Karbala, from the IHC team, and they're showing you the hard work and the limited resources that they have to be able to serve the Zuwar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam for 3 meals a day with water, juice, whatever they can in terms of being able to nourish the Zuwar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. £50 goes towards the Tabarruk campaign, which will be able to provide meals for the Zawar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. £10 goes towards approximately 400 cups of water, which will be able to provide clean and cold water for those who are in need, especially since temperatures are soaring in Iraq and specifically in Karbala. And there is also the water well campaign, which is approximately £1,400 as well. Now, I am delighted, or I'm very honored to have onto the stage once again Sayyid Ali Nawab to help me learn more about Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam and connect to Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. And first and foremost, Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Adhamallah ajurak, and hope all is well.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the intercession of Mawla Abil Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam.
Alayhi salam. So, Sayyidina, we're talking about Abil Fadl Abbas today, and it's always a very, very heavy topic or a heavy day, especially within the Iraqi culture. We, the first 5 nights, and then when you get into the 6th night, and then the 7th night, when you're starting to remember Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, it always feels like, how do I get the most out of today? And what is it that I have to do to get the most out of today? Be it when it comes to the majalis, maybe I've been lacking doing a bit more. When it comes to the latam, for example, making sure that I connect emotionally as much as I can. Now, what we understand is that millions of viewers, or millions of people actually, visit Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and they also visit his brother Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. How can we essentially harness and bring together the power of collective giving in light of the virtues of Abil Fadl Abbas alayhi salam?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى أبد الآبدين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. When we speak about a personality like Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salawatullahi wa salamu alayh, of course, we can only know his status and find out about his status from the infallible Imams. When we want to understand the status of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and the virtues that he had, we always need to see what the Imams of al-Bayt alayhim salam had to say about this great individual.
Okay.
For example, Imam al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayh praises and salutes and send his salutations upon Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Now it needs a great elevated status for an infallible Imam like al-Imam Abu Abdullah Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'een to come and describe his uncle that he has never seen, he has never met, by saying, Rahimallahu ammi al-Abbas innahu kana nafid al-basira. That basira, that internal awareness that he had, that gave him that status. Now, what are the virtues? Now, you mentioned that year upon year, millions and millions of devoted lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, they stand in front of the shrine of this great individual, this great, honorable, strong, brave, devoted warrior and alim, to show their respect. For what? For one reason. And that reason is that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salawatullahi wa salamu alayh, when we read his ziyarah, we testify, أشهد أنك قد بالغت في النصيحة وأعطيت غاية المجهود. So we testify, O Abu al-Fadl, I bear witness and I testify that you went out of your way, بالغت, to show people, to guide people towards the right path. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas salawatullahi alayhi, he is our center of guidance. And he himself, he used to say, I am one of the servants. Sayyidi, he used to call Imam Hussein Sayyidi. So I am a servant, and abdun lil Hussein salamullahi alayhi. Now, this collective giving, these millions of people, is it only that they come and salute and send their salutations upon Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and leave without actually learning something? No. The fact that they come and they enter the shrine of Abu al-Fadl and they stand in front of his mausoleum, his burial site, means that before they come to visit such an individual, they have, beforehand, they have a good wealth of knowledge. Because visiting such individuals comes from being educated about their status and their value. So how can we collectively, as a community, as a society of human beings, as we always say, Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, his brother Abbas, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, they are not the belongings of the Shia only. They don't belong to the Shia. They don't belong to the Muslims. Oh, people of the world, this great individual could be a role model for you and me. So one of the things that we can introduce or encourage collective giving back is by organizing educational seminars, for example. So for IHC, when they do a campaign like this, and they take their slogan to be al-Atash, the thirst remains, how can I get my point across to the millions of people? Is before the holy month of Muharram, I organize programs, events to increase our education, our knowledge about this individual and what he done, how he played his own part to give back through the events of Ashura and through the events of Karbala, how he gave back to the society, how he gave back to the community. So that's the first point. Creating is, the second point is creating a giving culture. By creating a giving culture, I mean is that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he created this atmosphere that everyone in the camp of Imam Hussein salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, first of all, was aware of the areas that they needed to help, they needed to support. Yeah. And then, what is the result? Is it enough for me to recognize that there is a shortage of resources, or there's a shortage of funds, or there's a shortage of services in this area? No. I investigate, I come to an understanding, and then I have to work upon closing that gap. So here, we as a community, we need to create this understanding that everyone in the community, in the society, has to be in that status of giving. So that's the giving culture. The other thing that I believe is important is highlighting the charitable projects like this one. IHC, through Imam Hussein Media Group, is thankfully, and we thank them, our dear brothers and sisters, on your behalf I thank IHC in this holy month of Muharram, that they are highlighting some of the charitable projects that they commit to doing. And without these kind of projects and without this kind of shows, people outside, people watching Imam Hussein TV and other social media platforms, they will not be aware of some of the dire situations that the people of Iraq and the people of the world are going through. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, the sole reason and the sole purpose that he came to this world was that his stance and his presence in Karbala was to make people aware of the position of Imam al-Hussein and the holy progeny. So we need to continue that work, brothers and sisters. We need to keep highlighting the projects, if I can call it, of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Because Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, when he accompanied his brother Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi alayhi, he was also involved in that process of Islah. And we need and we want, and it is our goal and ambition through IHC, through other networks, is to complete and continue that work of Islah through campaigns like The Thirst Remains. And lastly, I know we need to provide, and I'm sure IHC is providing the giving opportunity. There are always opportunities for people to give and to simplify the method of giving, to make it easier for people, and IHC has done that. Mullah Ali, thankfully, throughout the shows, throughout the last week or so, every day he does come and remind our dear brothers and sisters of the different packages, the different types of help and support that you are able to provide. Again, linking this to the movement and the presence of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salamullahi alayhi, is that he made it simple and easy for the orphans of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the little children of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in the camp to not feel that there is a shortage of water. He made it easy for them to be able to get access to water. But there was a time that he couldn't, as a result of restraints, he couldn't fulfill that promise.
Inshallah, we'll go into more about Abu al-Fadl Abbas's anguish and his struggles after a very short video from our team in Karbala, who are again explaining to us and showing to us the situation in Karbala and where exactly your donations go. So your contributions go towards the Majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the Mawakib. So we have a very short report from them, and inshallah we'll be back very soon.
It is precisely 2 a.m. and we are present in one of the Mawakib that's preparing the dishes. MashaAllah. It's not one, not two, but multiple pots that are all around the Mawkib. This Mawkib has just finished preparing the dish for tomorrow afternoon's program. And don't forget that these pots, they do not boil, and this wood is not bought, nor this metal, without donations towards the Mawakib of Imam al-Hussein. These pots and this fire will always be in use with your donations and support towards the pilgrims of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Let us have a look on what there is all around us. MashaAllah.
Many thanks to the IHC team for their fantastic work there in Karbala. They do have to brave the temperatures and the sleepless nights in order to get us footage as to what is going on there. So we thank them dearly from the bottom of our hearts for the work that they're doing and in showing the work that is happening over there and how you can contribute to that work. So it's very simple. The QR code is on your screen. There is a website, and essentially there are different projects that you can contribute to. So if you want to, in the name of your marhumeen, provide tabarruk for the Zuwar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that's £50 that goes towards the Mawakib and the Tabarruk campaign. As mentioned earlier, the temperatures are soaring, and so water is scarce, and there is not a limitless supply of water, brothers and sisters. It's not a situation where, you know, there's constantly cups being given to the Zuwar. There is always a shortage, and your donations can help create and develop more water packs and water cups for the Zuwar of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So we ask you in the name of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam to contribute £10 that goes towards approximately 400 cups of water for the Zuwar of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, as well as many other campaigns, namely the water well campaign that goes towards local villages and and towns that require water wells. You're able to provide in your name, in your marhum's name, a water well for them, inshallah. Now, continuing our discussion with Sayyid Ali in terms of the values and the principles that we can derive from Abu al-Fadl Abbas's life, can you share some of the I guess, a list of attributes that he had that we can put into our lives today?
Hassan. Basically, when we look at the event of Ashura, and we see that there are a great number of individuals who went out of their way to support and stand by their master, Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, we see that they collectively share some of the values that we see in Karbala. For example, Abu al-Fadl Abbas, he, from Bani Hashim, he was the one that shined the most, if I can say, in regards with the amount of sacrifice that he showed on the plains of Karbala. Abu al-Fadl Abbas, salamullahi alayhi, went to extreme lengths to become that individual that did not hold back anything. He didn't hold back anything. He stepped on his own self, because he recognized the position of his master, Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. And he recognized the dire situation that the camp of Imam Hussein was going through. So the first was the sacrifice. The second, as we always mention, is the selflessness. And this is what we want to achieve that virtue of selflessness, because once you reach that position, you will feel everything around you is just nothing. It's not worth anything. You will come to understand the reality of your existence in this world. And that was very clear for Abu al-Fadl Abbas, that I don't care about anything around me. All I care about is to be an individual who submits to the will of the Imam of his time. And he sacrifices everything that he had, and everything that I have is nothing towards securing and saving and protecting the life of the Imam of my time. So he became such an individual that until today, in his ziyarah, in his supplication, we acknowledge the amount of courage that Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas had. This man, once we sit down and read the simple lines that describe or try to give us an idea of the status of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, we understand what a great individual he is. You will never tend to find an individual in the history of mankind, in the history of humanity, from the beginning until the end, like Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, and the amount of courage and honor, and the fact that he was so humble when he was in Karbala. Hence, we need to, inshallah, try our best to implement some of those virtues in our lives.
I guess in terms of looking at those virtues, one of them is to, you can't speak about Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and not mention al-Atash, and that is what the whole charity's slogan for this year is. The thirst remains, the al-Atash campaign. What is the significance of al-Atash in relation to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam?
The Arabic poet says, إذا كان ساق الناس في الحشر حيدر فساقي عطاش كربلاء. Abu al-Fadli, if the quencher of thirst on the day of judgment is Ali ibn Abi Talib, then the quencher of thirst on the plains of Karbala was Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. And thirst, ever since the day of Karbala and the event of Ashura, has always been with Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. When you call Abbas, you cannot forget the fact that thirst was intertwined with the existence of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, salamullahi alayhi. Hence, when everyone went and never came back, the only person remaining in the camp of al-Imam al-Hussein was his brother, his backbone. The strength of Imam al-Hussein was Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He came to him, as he did numerously. Brothers and sisters, we are on the nights of the 7th of Muharram. Narrators narrate, the books of history reveal to us that on a day like tomorrow, on the 7th of Muharram, the siege of the army of Sham became stronger and stronger around the camp of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, to the extent that they stopped the access to the river of Furat. So from the 7th of Muharram, there were no water supplies reaching the camp of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So the family, the children of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam started to experience the shortage of water and started feeling that the heat of the thirst in that hot desert land of Karbala. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas came to his brother al-Imam al-Hussein, and he said to him, أخي أبا عبد الله إذن لي فلا طاقة لي على البقاء في الخيمة. Give me permission, oh my brother, let me go and bring water for these children. Narrators narrate, on many occasions Abu al-Fadl was able to disperse the army of Sham from the banks of Furat and get access to the river, bring water back to the camp of Imam Hussein. And the orphans and the little children in the camp of Imam Hussein, once they felt thirsty, they went to their uncle Abbas. They used to stand before him and shout out, al-Atash, carrying the bowls that was starting to crack because of the heat, because of the dryness of the weather, until the last moments on the day of Ashura. Imam al-Hussein said, I do not give you permission to go out and fight these enemies of Allah, but if you will go to the river of Furat and bring back some water. Abu al-Fadl came back to the tents, bid his final farewells to his lady, to his sister, to his mistress Zainab. It's as if he knew that this is the final time he is going to set his eyes in the eyes of his sister Zainab. He carried the water skin, and carrying the flag, he said his goodbyes to his brother Hussein. He hugged him, they both cried until they both fell to the ground. He went to the river of Furat, Ajarakumullah. He was able to wipe away, open his way, disperse the thousands of soldiers that were positioned on the banks of Furat to prevent water from arriving to the tents and the camp of Imam al-Hussein. He entered the river of Furat. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas resisted. He was distressed. He had not drunk water. He used to share his water with the little children, so he resisted drinking from that water. It's as if he looked at the water and he started speaking to himself. He started saying, oh self, I will not drink a drop of water before taking water back to the tents of Imam al-Hussein. He fills the water skin. He starts making his way back to the tents of Imam al-Hussein. Ajarakumullah. He was ambushed by the army. They started pelting him, shooting arrows towards him. They couldn't fight with Abu al-Fadl face to face, though that they knew that he is the strongest warrior in the camp of Hussein alayhi salam. So what they done was they hid behind the palm trees as Abu al-Fadl was coming closer, leaving the river of Furat. One of the enemies raised his sword and struck Abbas on the right arm, severing it. The other struck Abu al-Fadl on the left side, cutting his arm. Abu al-Fadl cried out, Wallah, in qata'tum yamini, inni uhami abadan an dini. Then he continues, he did not care about him losing his right and left. He continued protecting the water skin. His only aim was to bring the water skin safe and intact to the camp of Hussein alayhi salam. They started shooting arrows towards Abu al-Fadl. In that situation, one of the enemies shot an arrow and pierced the water skin. The water started spilling. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas stood there, not knowing what to do, no arms so he can fight with, and no water in the water skin, so he goes back to the tents. While he was contemplating his situation, another enemy of Allah struck him with a metal pole on his head. It was at that moment that this brave warrior fell to the ground face first. He called out, "Akhi ya Hussein, adrik akhak." Abi Abdullah ran. He sprinted towards his brother. Once he saw his brother, he shouted out, "Al-an انكسر ظهري وشمت بي عدوي." Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas knew that this is his brother Hussein. He asked his brother, "Akhi Abu al-Fadl, Akhi Aba Abdullah, leave me here. Do not take me back to the tents." Because this was the norm. Every time a warrior would fall to the ground, they would carry him back to the tents. "Khoy Hussein, خليني بمكاني." يقول له ليش يا زهرة زماني؟ يقول له واعد سكنة تراني. "Brother, I have promised Sukaina and the children that when I come back I will be bringing water for them. بخويا انكسر ظهري ولا اقدر اقوم وصرت مركز يا خويا الكل الهموم." Abi Abdullah lay there next to his brother Abbas until Abbas' soul departed. Now Abi Abdullah goes back to the tents. He doesn't know how to inform the family, but he done one thing that the whole family knew, that Abbas was not coming back. He went to the tent of Abu al-Fadl and pulled the pole from under the tent. The tent of Abbas collapsed. Once Lady Zainab saw the scene, she shouted out, "وَضَيْعَتَنَا بَعْدَكَ يَا أَبَا الْفَضْلِ وَأَخَاهُ وَعَبَّاسًا."
And thank you so much for your time, for everything that you've given to Imam Hussein charity over the last couple of days. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep it in your book of deeds, inshallah. There is one thirst that remained, and it's a thirst for a man to hear the name brother from his brother. And that is Imam Hussein alayhi salam yearning Abu al-Fadl Abbas to call him brother. And that thirst still remains today, where from brother to brother, I ask you, inshallah, in the name of Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam, to be able to contribute to those that are in need. The details are on your screen. It's very simple to contribute, but please do contribute as much as you can. Imam Hussein Charity does everything that they can in order to provide for the Zuwar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the orphans, the widows. You can check their website, you can check their socials to see what they have done. In any case, it's been a pleasure, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept everything that we have done in the way of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And inshallah, may Allah accept your a'mal and your majalis and your tabarruk. And with that, inshallah, we will see you soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
dust rises in the land, we will call home. From the tears and the blood we shall build your crown. Even today we see a striking golden dome, and not a lonely man by the name of Hussein. From the young Qasim to the Ali Akbar, we enter battle crying Allahu Akbar. The swords we carry write the name of your father, and besides the name Haider, none shall remain. We are 72 against thousands of men, and al-Banin is one of our great women. The killers of Fatima, where have they all gone? As the sons of Yazid by our swords are all slain. We have Muslim, Wahab, Zuhair, we have Habib, and we have Hur lamenting Zahra's broken ribs. Where are the flies that have entered Abbas's web, as they fall like flies here upon Karbala's plains? None of us shall live to witness enough time span, even if it means hold a sword, show young Qasim. When the daughters complain of the thirst within them, we'll pick up the hot food, our dance with all the pain. We are the sons of Zahra, we follow Ali, and even if our backs bend, their flags we will carry. We came as the servants of the two things weighty, the Quran and Hussein, for us one and the same. We are 72 against thousands of men, and al-Banin is one of our great women. The killers of Fatima, where have they all gone? As the sons of Yazid by our swords are all slain. We have Muslim, Wahab, Zuhair, we have Habib, and we have Hur lamenting Zahra's broken ribs. Where are the flies that have entered Abbas's web, as they fall like flies here upon Karbala's plains?
I pray from afar to reach Karbala. My Hussein, how I wish to walk into your holy shrine, to stand by your gate, to give my labbaik. The pain of separation, it only gets worse with time. Tell me, my master, this year will I breathe the air of your land that has made me be Hussein, made me be Hussein. My all is worthless, your call is priceless, my goal. Karbala, my only wish, will flock to your land. I'll walk on your sand, take me by my hand, I'll never quit. In words I cannot express, on your land how I obsess. Life without you is useless, your sight makes me feel so blessed. I'd trade all that I possess, only your love is success. To reach Karbala, O son of Zahra, to kiss your holy grave. Although we're apart, you live in my heart. The greatest honor in my life is to be called your slave. With all my heart I pray your land I'll see, the sight of your land that has made me be Hussein, made me be Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
My tears, they're endless, my years, they're worthless. You hear me calling Wa Husseina. The pain, I'll ignore Hussein. For your cause my gaze is mourning in Karbala. And when I'm walking alone, it's clear I'm not on my own. All of my days I have known, by your shrine I feel at home. Year on year my love has grown, O King on Karbala's throne. To answer your call, I'll give you my soul. My master, I'm only the dust that lies beneath your feet. I pray I'll be proud when I'm in my shroud. When I'm in my grave with Zahra, your servants you will grieve. My master, your love is what sets me free. The sacrifice you gave has made me be Hussein, made me be Hussein. I pray from afar to reach Karbala. My Hussein, how I wish to walk into your holy shrine, to stand by your gate, to give my labbaik. The pain of separation, it only gets worse with time. Tell me, my master, this year will I breathe the air of your land that has made me be Hussein, made me be Hussein.
Broken hearts, on our lips whisper Ya Abbas. Raise my hands to remember your arms, remember your pain, I lose my calm. I hit my chest with my palms. You called me out as I have come. Muharram's here, Hussein salam. I hear the call of Hussein, I hear the call of Hussein. Invited me and I came, I cry when I hear your name. The chant of your name, it brings me home. Oh Karbala, here I come. I hit my chest till I feel numb. Muharram, I'm here, salam. I live for your Muharram, Hussein. You know how crazy I am, Hussein. No one can save me, you can, Hussein. Hussein, I'm yours if you take me away to Karbala. Hussein, I'm sure you'll take me away to Karbala. Hussein, I know you'll take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, I'm yours if you take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, I'm sure you'll take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, I know you take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Black and red, red and black. The wind blew just to raise your flag. The rain poured just to remind us that we're only here as you called us out, wherever your majlis will be at. carried your sign on our backs. We're grateful that you invite us back. I chant the name of Hussein, I chant the name of Hussein. I feel the heat of your flame, I kneel to your feet full of shame. I know that I wasn't worthy, but as always you still called me. I lost my way, you showed me, as if you knew I felt lonely. I live for your Muharram Hussein. You know how crazy I am, Hussein. No one can save me, you can, Hussein. Hussein, I'm yours if you take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, I'm sure you'll take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, I know you'll take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, I'm yours if you take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, I'm sure you'll take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, I know you'll take me away to Karbala. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein, never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein, never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. What is left in us, besides this great love, and our hearts beat, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart,
that is happening, inshallah. Just an announcement I've been doing last couple of days about the books that are available. There are only very few books left, and from what I believe, I don't think they are going to get restocked. So this is the last batch of books that we have. So if you are interested, I will read the titles again. The first one is The Life of the Sincere Companion, Abu Dhar al-Ghaffari. The Life of the Third Martyr, Qazi Nurullah.
Muhammad Sunnah stood in Karbala, therefore we cry, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein, never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein, never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. What is left in us, besides this great love, and our hearts beat, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein, never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. In Ali steps, we are all led, and they end in Karbala. Upon our heads, your name it rests, there it shall live forever. If it bends our backs, we shall
Mustafa for his beautiful Quran recitation. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Raza. I'm one of the volunteers here at the Mahdaviyah Foundation. I won't take long of your time, just a couple of announcements.
Never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya
where we're at in terms of fundraising and how we need your help.
never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. What is left in us, besides this great love, and our hearts beat, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein, never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. When your day comes, in love we drown, and as we drown, so we live. And when it's gone, we'll carry on. If there is still more to give, we are just servants, and we shall lament, crying your name, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein. Never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein. Never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. What is left in us besides this great love and our hearts beat, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein.
We've been collecting over the last few nights. We've reached
Never leave us apart, Ya Hussein.
another 20,000 to go. So I think we have around 40 as the last mentioned.
How many hearts yours shall break?
So please, if I could implore each and every one of you,
Peace
please
in
to
this
contribute.
sound of all our cries of al-Bayt. We're your 72 standing beside you.
To dig deep and give whatever they can in the way of Abbas ibn Ali. You can do it in various ways. You can do one-off donations, so you know, sponsoring £50, £100. You can do larger sums and dedicate it towards certain aspects of the majalis if you want to.
Never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. What is left in us besides this great love and our hearts beat, Ya Hussein. Every beat of my heart, Ya Hussein. Never leave us apart, Ya Hussein. is our guardian, our Abbas? Where is our guardian? Where are the hands of arms? What shall then become? Our uncle, where are the? Where is our God? Where? लुटा ज़ैनब का लड़खड़ाते हुए दीने भी संभलने के लिए लड़खड़ाते हुए दीने भी संभलने के लिए बाजू रस्सी से बंधा बाजू रस्सी से बंधा थाम लिया दी के लिए जब इसने रिदा भी दे दी उसके दी के लिए जब इसने रिदा भी दे दी देखता रह गया ज़ैनब को खुदा ज़ैनब का घर से जाने घर भी लुटा ज़ैनब का सर से जाने भी गई घर भी लुटा ज़ैनब का बच गया दीन मगर बच गया
With the loudest of your salawats ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
कुछ ना बचा ज़ैनब का सर से जाने भी गई घर भी लुटा ज़ैनब का
بابا تو چرا دور ز چشمان من هستی مهمان من هستی آخر تو پدر شمع شبستان من هستی مهمان من هستی
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء، حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه. روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وعلى غاصبي حقوقهم وعلى منكري فضائلهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. آمين رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا غريب الغرباء، يا مظلوم كربلاء، السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته، السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته، السلام على ساكن كربلاء. فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي، يا سادتي، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد، المهدي من ولدي ويملأ الأرض عدلا وقسطا كما ملئت ظلما وجورا. صدق النبي وآمنا به. زينوا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد. Ahibai, you find that the concept of Mahdaviyah, belief in the 12th Imam, Maulana Imam Sahib al-Amri wal-Zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajjal farajahu, is a critical aspect of our deen. And I do not say over here that belief in Imam al-Mahdi is a critical part of the madhab. La, it is a critical part of the deen, being the final aspect of the institution of imamate in its entirety. And hence, our understanding and our belief when it comes to the issues in regards to Imam al-Hujjah is connected with Usuluddin. And as you know, and as we discussed in previous nights, that it is based on Usuluddin, that every aspect within our Furuuddin gains currency and gains validity. And you will find within Islamic literature that every one of the divinely appointed guides, from Khatamul Anbiya, Rasulullah, all the way down to every one of the Imams, up till Imam Hassan al-Askari, you will find that every Imam spoke in varying degrees in regards to the advent of Imam al-Hujjah and the awaited Imam al-Mahdi, such that not only is the generation at that time educated in regards to the imminent arrival of Imam al-Mahdi, but is to serve as a literature for us to prepare ourselves within the ghaibah of the Imam. And you find that Imam al-Hussein Ruhi lahu al-Fida was no exception. In fact, when you refer back to the books of the Maqatil, you find that Imam al-Hussein Ruhi lahu al-Fida discussed the concept of Mahdawiyah and spoke about Imam al-Hujjah on the night of Ashura. You know, within Dirayat al-Hadith, the art and the science of understanding Hadith, we have a rule of thumb where the content of the Hadith, the importance of the content of a Hadith is understood from within, or is understood from the circumstances within which this Hadith emanates. So you can imagine the fact that it is the night of Ashura, and the next day is going to unfold in front of this universe the greatest battle between Haqq and Batil. On this night, Imam al-Hussein talks about Imam al-Mahdi with his companions. For you find within the Maqatil, it is narrated that when Imam al-Hussein tested his companions and gave them the opportunity to save their lives and to live in the darkness of the cover, and you know that to live in the darkness of the night, you know that none of the companions left Imam al-Hussein at that point. And when Imam al-Hussein saw their loyalty, he lifted the veils of the unseen from in front of his companions, and each and every one of these blessed men were able to see their positions in paradise. And you find over here that Imam al-Hussein talks about the awaited Imam with his companions. And it is narrated that one of the companions asked, "And who is this Mahdi?" The title of the Imam which is used, or the particular question that was asked by the companion to the Imam, is a title of the Imam that requires us, as per the hadith of Imam as-Sadiq, every time this title is mentioned, that you stand up out of respect. And hence I will mention his name, and to bless this gathering with the presence or with the glance of Imam al-Hujjah, we stand up out of respect for this name. The companion asks Imam al-Hussein, وَمَنْ قَائِمُكُمْ? Qa'im ali Muhammad, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Hadith of Imam as-Sadiq Ruhi lahu al-Fida narrates every time you come across this title of the 12th Imam, stand up for him out of respect. So they ask, who is this Imam, this awaited Mahdi? And you find that Imam Hussein says, وَهُوَ حُجَّةِ ibn al-Hassan, ibn Ali, ibn Muhammad, al-Jawad, ibn Ali, Musa al-Ridha, Ali al-Ridha, ibn Musa al-Kadhim, ibn Ja'far al-Sadiq, ibn Muhammad al-Baqir, ibn Waladi al-Ali. You find that over here, Imam al-Hussein is outlining the name of all the Imams and the lineage of Imam al-Hujjah. And Imam al-Hussein then goes on to tell his companions, lahu ghaybatun tawila. He has an extended period of ghaybah. And when he reappears, يملأ الأرض قسطا وعدلا كما ملئت ظلما وجورا. Once the Imam reappears, or upon his reappearance, he will fill the earth with peace and justice in the same manner that it has been filled with oppression and injustice. And it is based on these words of Imam al-Hussein that I wish, inshallah, for tonight and for tomorrow, that the majlis should be a discussion around the concept of Mahdaviyah and the belief or that revolves or emanates around Imam al-Hujjah. And for tonight, our majlis revolves around two primary aspects. Number one, the circumstances within which the dhuhur of the Imam will happen, the circumstances under which the appearance of the awaited Imam will happen, number one. And number two, some of the achievements of the Imam when it comes to establishing a universal, global government of peace and justice. And note that this topic has quite a bit of depth, for we have selected certain chapters from each of these two parts. And inshallah, the hope is with this, our ma'rifah of Imam al-Hujjah increases, our love for Imam al-Hujjah increases, and it becomes a motivation for us to embark upon a path of self-improvement and spiritual progressment with a hard objective and target, and that is to be from amongst the Ansar of the awaited Maulana Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Tayyib. When it comes to the circumstances, we have numerous hadith that speak about the signs that will precede the reappearance of the 12th Imam. And you find that within the literature of the hadith, these signs are divided into two. You have alamat, the signs of reappearance. Some of these signs are known as alamat al-hatmiyya, the signs that will occur before the reappearance of Imam al-Hujjah with absolute certainty. And then you have the ghayr hatmiyya. Alamat ghayr hatmiyya are those signs that may occur or may not occur. And as per the divine wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in line with the circumstances of the time, these may happen, may not happen. On the other hand, when you will dive into the world of ahadith, you will find that hadith that talk about the alamat or the signs of akhirul zaman are generally attached or generally connected or affiliated with the dhuhur of the Imam. And some of these hadith can be categorized in terms of the political situation, in terms of the economic situation, in terms of the social situation. For the hadith are numerous. When it comes to circumstances, there is one particular hadith that I would like to narrate for you from the minbar. And it has many commonalities in the mannerism that the revolution of Imam al-Hussein took place. And if you were to connect the dots, you will be able to see that the movement and the revolution of Imam al-Hussein, the revolution and the movement of Imam al-Hujjah, from many dimensions and many perspectives, has similarities with the movement and the revolution of Imam al-Hussein. The hadith tell us that in the year that the dhuhur of the Imam will happen, on the 25th of Dhul Hijjah, Imam al-Mahdi shall send his ambassador and an emissary to the city of Mecca to make a global announcement inviting the people in their entirety to prepare themselves, pay allegiance, and respond to the call of Imam al-Mahdi. The narrations mention that this individual and this ambassador and this emissary of Imam al-Mahdi is given the title Nafsu Zakiyya. And we have hadith literature, some of which alludes to the fact that he's from the lineage or the Sadat of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. And we have other hadith that suggest that he is from the lineage of Imam al-Hussein and from the Sadat that are Husseini. In either case, the traditions mention that Nafsu Zakiyya on the 25th of Dhul Hijjah in the year of the dhuhur of the Imam shall come to Mecca, and he shall make a grand announcement, and he will say to them, O people, by the Kaaba, a public announcement, he will say to them, Ayyuhan nas, O people, I am a messenger that has been sent by the Imam. And he will take the name of the Imam. He says, the message that I have been sent with by the Imam, Inna ahlu bayt al-rahma wa ma'adinu al-risala. Notice the word that is used over here. After an extended period of ghaiba. Allahu alam how long this ghaiba shall continue. But our hope and our dua on a daily basis is for the occultation of the Imam to end as soon as possible. And as importantly, that we are ready to be on the right side of the fence when the dhuhur of the Imam happens. This part of the discussion is for tomorrow's majlis. But look at the manner in which the Imam or Nafsu Zakiyya introduces the concept of Imam al-Mahdi and this message of spreading peace and justice on earth. He describes the Ahlul Bayt by saying, Inna Ahla Bayt al-Rahma wa ma'adinu al-Risala. We are the Ahlul Bayt of mercy. Bain al-Qawsayn, between brackets, Ahibbai, it is so important to understand the methodology through which the Imam will embark upon when he appears. Many times we find people who are absolutely in love with the Imam and they're super passionate about the Imam, but their opinion of the Imam and their mindset, their understanding of the Imam is overshadowed by the fact that they think the Imam is here to conduct a bloody, violent war against everyone and anyone who disagrees with them. And they subconsciously feel that in order to be part of this grand army, they themselves need to be hostile and act or organize and mobilize themselves in a military fashion. La ahibai. Bil-aks, it's actually the opposite. Rasulullah's seerah is going to be the absolute path of emulation for Imam al-Hujjah. As we will see in the second part of the lecture. Yes, the Imam will be engaged in violence. Yes, the Imam is going to need supporters, Ansar and Asham, who have the highest level of courage. But however, this courage or display of bravery or readiness of war means nothing if it is not governed by akhlaq. Means nothing if it is not governed by a strong, steadfast aqidah. And this is important. For Nafsu Zakiyah says, Inna ahlu bayti rahma wa ma'dinu risala. We are the ones whom the treasures of prophethood are embedded within us. He will then go on to say, وَنَحْنُ, and we are the ones إِذْ تُحِدْنَا وَقُتِلْنَا وَشُرِدْنَا مُنْذُ أَنْ كُبِذَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. He will then go on to say that we are that Ahlul Bayt that were oppressed, that were persecuted, and that were exiled ever since the demise of the Holy Prophet. And this also is an indicator for you that an important aspect in the concept, an important aspect in this institution of Mahdaviyah is for you to be absolutely well versed in the history of Islam and the history of what transpired in the satanic gathering of Saqifa. Because you find that this is one of the first messages that Nafs al-Zakiyah announces as he's calling the people towards him. And Nafs al-Zakiyah will then say, Fansuruna. Fansuruna, and he come and provide victory towards us. And you find over here similarities in that just the way, like Imam Hussein, before he stood up in revolution and announced the revolution towards Karbala, he sent his ambassador and his emissary, Imam Muslim bin Aqil, to the city of Kufa to seek pledges of allegiance on his behalf. You find over here that Imam al-Hujjah, within the same seerah of Imam al-Hussein, sends his emissary, or will send his emissary and ambassador by the name of Nafs al-Zakiyah. The Imam predicts within the hadith. When we say Imam predicts, as in he's telling us what to expect in the future, the Imam has ilmul ghaib. The Imam tells us that the response of the Meccan people, or the response of the people who will be in Mecca, in the Haram, and this doesn't necessarily mean that they will be Meccans by nationality. And you can get to see that during different times of the year, Mecca is filled with a diverse number of Hujjaj. Different backgrounds. Muhim, the response of the people is that when they hear the announcement of Nafs al-Zakiyah, Hadith al-Sharif by Imam al-Baqir mentions that they will grab Nafs al-Zakiyah فَيَذْبَحُونَهُ بَيْنَ الرُّكْنِ وَالْمَقَامِ. They will take Nafs al-Zakiyah. They will not kill him. They will not execute him. The hadith is very precise. فَيَذْبَحُونَهُ. They will slaughter and behead him between the Hajar al-Aswad and the Maqam Ibrahim. Can you picture this in your mind? For those of you Matamis who have been blessed to go for Umrah or to go for Hajj, and may Allah grant each and every one of us an opportunity to do so, and to have Aza at Jannatul Baqi when you perform your ceremonies. You can imagine at this grand Kaaba, the house of Tawheed with all its splendor, everything that surrounds it. Nafs al-Zakiyah is beheaded at that place. And the historians and the hadith mention that this will happen 15 days before the dhuhr of the Imam. And there are other hadith that mention that Nafs al-Zakiyah will be executed on the 25th of Dhul Hijjah. For if you were to count 15 days from the 25th of Dhul Hijjah, on the assumption that Dhul Hijjah is 30 days, 15 days on to 25, you find that the dhuhr of Maulana Imam Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman shall occur on the day of Ashura. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. For embrace yourselves, ya Shi'as, Matamis. There will come a time when the day of Ashura, together with the Aza of Imam al-Hussein, will mark the reappearance of Imam al-Hujjah. And it is instrumental for you and I, necessary part of our Aqidah, to ensure that within our minds, within our lifestyles, we have planned for the blessed day in which the Imam will reappear, that each and every one of us has a plan to get to the city of Mecca. It is important for each and every one of us to possess a mindset that when the call of that awaited Imam comes on the day of Ashura, that we do not falter, we do not waver. Slang term, we do not flake around. And this, Ahibba'i, my fellow Matamis, is one of the philosophies and one of the goals of Azadari. Is that when you form your lines and you form your halqas and you beat your chests to the highest degree of intensity, and your heads and your backs, it is in preparation as an exercise. It is a preparation and a form of allegiance where you are readying yourself and preparing yourself to be a part of this grand movement that has been predicted and that has been prophesied from the beginning of time. Hadith al-Sharif narrates, on the 10th of Muharram, Yawm Ashura, Imam al-Hujjah reappears in Mecca. Now let me pause over here for a moment. Bain al-Qawsayn, between brackets, open and make something, a clarification. There is a difference between when you read through and you study the literature in regards to the hadith for the dhuhur of the Imam or the reappearance of the Imam. There is a difference between the dhuhur of the Imam, and there is a difference between the dhuhur of the Imam and the qiyam of the Imam. Dhuhur and qiyam are two different things. Dhuhur very likely means the reappearance of the Imam into the public eye, meaning that the occultation or the ghaiba has ended. The Imam is now, the Imam lives even during ghaiba on earth. You know, the ghaiba of Imam al-Hujjah is different from the ghaiba of Nabi Isa. Nabi Isa was raised up to the heavens, but Imam al-Hujjah, la, he lives between us, suffers the hardships of this dunya with us, like us. The Imam attends Hajj, is in Arafah. The Imam is in Karbala, Imam al-Mahdi. The Imam participates in commemorations of Azadari. The Imam weeps as well. We have traditions and we have witness accounts of this that have happened throughout history. However, there is a difference between dhuhur. So dhuhur is the end of the occultation, in that he is not anonymous anymore. The occultation will have been ended and his presence will be public. People will know that Imam al-Mahdi, his occultation has ended, but he has not yet announced his movement and his revolution. There is a number of hadith that suggest that the reappearance or the dhuhur, where the first public appearance of the Imam, in the sense that his personality is not anonymous anymore, will happen in the city of Medina al-Munawwarah, by the blessed grave of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And the hidden grave of his mother Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, the hidden grave of Sayyid Muhsin, and by the graves of his grandfathers buried in Jannatul Baqi. For the hadith is unclear, and for understandable reasons, the hadith is unclear for the amount of time that Imam al-Hujjah's dhuhur, for the period of time and the exact time that his dhuhur will manifest in the city of Medina. But we do know for sure is that 15 days after the massacre of Nafs al-Zakiyya in Mecca, the Imam will then make ways from Medina to Mecca. And on the day of Ashura, this is the Qiyam. This is when the Imam will announce this global movement of peace and justice. The hadith mentioned that he will come to Mecca on the day of Ashura, will recite salat by the maqam of Nabi Ibrahim. He will then stand by the Kaaba with his back leaning against the Kaaba between the maqam of Ibrahim and between the Hajarul Aswad, and the Imam will call out to the people. He will be surrounded by Ashab and surrounded by Ansar. The difference between Ashab and Ansar is what? Ashab are those 313 companions, the highest grade of companions, brigadiers and colonels within this movement of the Imam. And underneath them there are Ansars who are in their thousands and their thousands, who will keep joining the Imam at different parts of the movement. For the hadith mentions that Imam al-Hujjah shall lean against the Kaaba on the day of Ashura between the Hajar al-Aswad and Maqam Ibrahim, and then he will call out to the people, Ayyuhan nas, after having praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the most eloquent manner. Imam al-Hujjah shall cry out to the people, Ayyuhan nas, من حاجني في الآدم فأنا أولى بآدم من حاجني في النوح فأنا أولى بالنوح من حاجني في الإبراهيم وفي إبراهيم فأنا أولى بإبراهيم. Oh people, the one who wants to understand Adam, Nabiullah Adam, then I am the perfect representative and manifestation of Adam. Those who want to understand Nuh, and those who want to understand Ibrahim and Isa and Musa, he says, I am the manifestation of their teachings and their prophethood. من حاجني في محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجه فأنا أولى به. Those who want to understand Rasulullah, I am the most accurate, grandest manifestation of Rasulullah. Keep this khutbah in mind because it has a very significant and important implication. The hadith narrates 313 men who remained steadfast in the ghaibah of the Imam will have appeared and will give bay'ah. And before these 313 men appear, Imam al-Baqir states that as soon as the Imam calls for bay'ah, he will say to the people that we are seeking victory with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِسْتَنْصَرْنَا Allah. We seek help and victory through Allah, so all people respond to us. And you find that the theme of this statement, calling the people towards his movement, is similar to the words of Imam al-Hussein. When Sayyid al-Shuhada on the plains of Ashura cried out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna. Imam al-Hujjah says over here, Fansuruna. Come to our aid and come to our victory. At this moment, the narrations mention the first person to give the bay'ah to Imam al-Hujjah will be Jibreel. He will descend down from the heavens in a company of 40,000 angels, and they shall give bay'ah to Imam al-Hussein. And if you refer back to Kamilul Ziyarat is a text which is authored by Ibn Qawlaway, or it is a text in regards to the ziyarat and the fiqh and the aqaid of ziyarah, narrated by Ibn Qawlaway. Ibn Qawlaway is the teacher of Sheikh Mufid. Both these two grand scholars who played a vital role in the ghaiba, early days of the ghaiba of the Imam. Both these scholars are blessed to be buried, and their graves are next to or inside of the haram of Imam Musa ibn Jafar and Imam al-Jawad, Ruhi lahul fida, in Baghdad. They are buried just not too far from the feet of the Imam. Kamilu Ziyarat Ahibai is a text which is absolutely vital. A text you will not understand Imam al-Hussein and not understand your role when it comes to Imam al-Hujjah if you are not connected with Imam al-Hussein and the institution of Ziyarah and the institution of Azadari. The fiqh and the aqaid of Azadari and Ziyarah is within this text, Kamilu Ziyarat. There are certain texts we have been saying over the last few nights. Entum, lovers of Ahlul Bayt, Matamis, you cannot do without these texts. Each and every one of us needs to have a relationship with the Quran. Each and every one of us needs to have a relationship with the Nahjul Balagha. Each and every one of us need to have an affiliation with Sahif al-Sajjadiyah. When it comes to texts about our deen, we need to be familiar with Kitab Sulaim. We need to be familiar with Kamilu Ziyarat. These are texts where ulama have spent their lives and they shed their blood to ensure that you and I have access to the literature of Ali Muhammad. Within Kamilu Ziyarat it is narrated that together with all these angels, Jibreel and 40,000 angels, there are thousands of angels who have been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be in a state of azar, to be in a state of grief, weeping for Imam al-Hussein, and their position is around the Qubbah of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Allah. This golden dome of Karbala, Karbala, ya Karbala. When you enter into Karbala, Ahibai, you're not walking amongst human beings, even though it's an honor to be walking around other Matamis and lovers of Imam al-Hussein. You're in a land where the air that you breathe, the dust that you breathe, is dust that is shaken off the wings of the angels that are doing tawaf around the Qubbah of Abu Abdullah. How blessed are those Matamis who are in Karbala on nights like these. And how blessed are you that your heart yearns for Karbala. May Allah grant us the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah, Ya Allah. The narrations mention that these thousands of angels have been appointed by Allah to circumambulate around the Qubbah of Imam al-Hussein, and they are in a state of azar, covered in dust, until the rising of Imam al-Hujjah, and they will be a part of this army. And as soon as Jibreel and the angels give bay'ah to the Imam, after him there are 313 of these colonels, brigadiers of the highest level and the staunchest level of loyalty to Imam al-Hujjah, who give bay'ah. And underneath them there are thousands and thousands of companions, as we said, who will join the movement. And it is from here, Ahibai, listen to this carefully, and it is from here that Imam Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman Ruhi lahul Fida will begin and commence the establishment of a brand new civilization. The Imam is not here to create a new temporary government. The Imam is not here to replace one or two broken political processes. La, the Imam is here to create a brand new civilization, a brand new world order, a civilization that is marked with peace, justice, and prosperity for the entire humanity. And if you understand the weight of the mission of the Imam, in that he's coming to establish a new civilization, we begin to understand the weight of the responsibility that falls upon us as the companions of the Imam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. the establishment of this new civilization. So when you come across the hadith where the Prophet and the Imam say in regards to Imam al-Mahdi, الَّذِي يَمْلَأُ الْأَرْضَ عَدْلًا وَقِسْطًا كَمَا مُلِئَتْ ظُلْمًا وَجَوْرًا, understand that over here it's not about just being the head of government. La, it's about the establishment of a brand new civilization. Civilization marked by peace and justice. How does the Imam go about by establishing this new world order and this new civilization? For the time that is remaining, I cannot complete the 3 that I have planned, but inshallah, if we have an opportunity tomorrow, we will continue with the 2. But one important thing that I want to share with you is that the beginning of this new civilization, the commencement of this new civilization begins with the unification of monotheistic faiths under the Shahada, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, Aliyun Waliyullah. Ya Ali. And the proof for this is that come and have a look at the initial khutbah that is delivered by Imam al-Hujjah by the Kaaba, where he says to the people, the Imam, look at how the Imam engages them. Those who want to engage about Adam, those who want to engage about Nuh, those who want to engage about Ibrahim and Musa and Isa, I am the manifestation of their prophethood, meaning that one of the fundamental and one of the first tasks of the Imam, or the functions of the Imam, is to unite monotheistic faiths under the banner of Islam. He will debate with the followers of Nabi Isa using the Injil to prove his imamat and superiority. He will debate with the people of the Torah and invite them to the Siratul Mustaqim that is listed and that is mentioned within the Quran. He will guide the Muslims with all their different denominations and sects. If they believe in the Risala of Rasulullah, he will bring them towards the fold of the Wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen and his Imamat. Which is why the narrations mention that a part of this unification of monotheistic Abrahamic faiths is that the descension of Nabiullah Isa from the heavens. The descension of Nabiullah Isa from the heavens will be upon the dhuhur or the qiyam of the Imam in Sham. And the hadith is so clear in the description of Nabi Isa that he will be wearing a red robe and his hair shall be falling down onto his shoulders and they look like his hair is still wet. And the role of Nabi Isa will be to unify the entire Christian faith. Not only unite them, but revive them. With all their differences, as per our hadith, we have that there are 72 sects that all claim to be the true representatives of the teachings of Nabiullah Isa. Jesus Christ, Nabi Isa, alayhi salam, shall unite them. And as they are united under the leadership of Nabi Isa, the hadith mentioned both Sunni and Shia, that Nabi Isa will lead himself, lead the masses towards Imam al-Hujjah. Nabiullah Isa shall pray salat behind Imam al-Mahdi. And together with this, the entire followership of Nabi Isa comes into a bloodless entry into the deen of Islam. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. The movement of the Imam is a movement of knowledge, a movement of burhan, a movement of ilm. For those who respond to the intellect. And this is an important aspect of Mahdaviyah that we cannot discount. Self-defense, 100% self-defense is there, is in its place. But preparation for self-defense is built on the precondition is ilm and yaqeen. There is much to say on this. Inshallah, we have tawfiq in the future nights. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahibai Shabab, Masa'ib today of Maulana Shah Qasim. Before I begin the Masa'ib, we are approaching the 7th day of Muharram. 7th of Muharram is when the camps of Imam Hussein were denied access to water. Between now and Ashura, from the 7th day until Saturday Ashura, see how many times you drink water. How many times you get thirsty. How quickly you get dehydrated. Between now and Ashura, each and every one of you, when you drink a glass of water, this is supposed to be masa'ib for you. Lovers of Ali Muhammad, those of you who are parents, fathers, mothers, young parents, between now and Ashura, when you see your children drink water, when you feed or you nurse your children, remember the tragedy of the children of Imam Hussein. Young mothers live the tragedy of Sayyida Rabab between now and the day of Ashura. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Ruhi lahul fida, was present in Karbala. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba was present in Karbala and was represented in Karbala through his sons. And you find that from within the youth of Bani Hashim, each and every one of them were fearless, raging, courageous lions, without a shadow of a doubt. But the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, they exhibited courage and swordsmanship, warriors that were unmatched, unparalleled to the highest degree. And the courage within the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba that was displayed on the day of Ashura is a testament to the courage that they inherited from their father Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. From their tarbiyah to the way that they spoke, to the manner that they conducted themselves on the battlefield, the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. Allahu Akbar. The Maqatil mention that Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Aba Muhammad Ruhi lahul fida, had 7 children, 7 sons. I should not say 7 children because his daughters were in addition. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba had 7 sons on the day of Ashura with Imam al-Hussein. 2 of his sons by the name of Zayd and Amr were young children between the ages of 10 to 12 who were taken prisoner with the rest of the women and the Imam al-Baqir and the Imam al-Sajjad. They were taken as prisoners from Karbala to Kufa and Kufa to Sham. Zayd and Amr, 2. The third one, the son of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, and what is apparent is that he is the eldest son of Imam al-Mujtaba. His name was also Hassan, and he is known as Hassan al-Muthanna, Hassan the second. The historians mention that this Hassan al-Muthanna was married to Sayyida Fatima Kubra, the daughter of Imam al-Hussein. And he was present on the day of Ashura. And he fought in the center flank with the Bani Hashim under the leadership and the command of Abul Fadl al-Abbas. And he fought such an extensive war and such a ferocious war that in the process one of his arms was severed. The manner in which his arm was severed, the intensity of the pain was such that Hassan al-Muthanna fainted on the battlefield. By the time the enemies got to him, they assumed that he was dead. It was only on the 11th of Muharram that Hassan al-Muthanna gained consciousness. He was profusely bleeding. You can imagine a person whose hand has been severed off. Those of you, there's a number of you who are in the medical field. Man's hand has been severed off. He's fainted and he's bleeding without any sort of treatment. 11th of Muharram, faintly he gained consciousness. They were about to kill him until a man from his mother's tribe interceded on his behalf, and the enemies thought he's going to die en route anyway, so they took him captive together with the rest of the women and the children and Imam Sajjad. It's the third one, Hassan al-Muthanna. Number 4, you have Ahmad, Sayyid Ahmad, the son of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. Sayyid Ahmad was one of those Sadat from the lineage, the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, on the day of Ashura. In addition to forming the ranks of the Bani Hashim, the center flank, forming the ranks with the Bani Hashim, history has recorded that he entered and attacked the battlefield on 3 different occasions. And within these 3 different occasions, there is the least recorded number is that close to 200 of the enemies of Iblis were sent to Jahannam wa bi'sa al-masir under Ahmad. And if you were to see the poetry that he recited on the day of Ashura, when he attacked the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, and these were young men, Ahmad, historians have recorded that Sayyid Ahmad was not much older than 16 years of age. Yet when he entered into the battlefield, he recites for them poetry. He enters into the battlefield saying, I am from the children of Mukhtar. Mukhtar is a title of Rasulullah. He says, I am from the children of Mukhtar. I shall attack you with my sword in such an intense manner that even the child's hair on the head will turn white if he was to see me fight you on the battlefield. These are the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. He became shaheed on the day of Ashura. And then you have 2 sons again of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba by the name of Abdullah. One of them is known as Abdullah al-Akbar and the other one is known as Abdullah al-Asghar. Abdullah al-Akbar caused terror in the ranks of the army on the day of Ashura, and his age again was not more than 14 to 16. In fact, the enemy was absolutely terrorized. And if it is important for you to understand this, because they vented out their hatred and their anger for the remaining children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba on Shah Qasim. Abdullah al-Akbar was so courageous and attacked the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad in such a ferocious manner, they had to flee from him. And all this time, Abdullah al-Akbar in his poetry terrified the army. It is recorded in the Maqtal that as he attacked their ranks, he recited in poetry saying to them, "In tunkiruni fa'ana ibnu Haydara, dharghamun ajamun laythun kaswara, alal a'da'u mithlu rihis sarsara, ukilukum bisayfi kakilis sandara." He says to them, if you do not know me, I am the son of Haydar, that raging, ferocious, attacking lion. I shall fall upon you like a black wind, and I shall sift through you with my sword like the wind sifts through the trees. This is the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. Pay tribute to this Imam who was poisoned and vomited blood and his insides. This Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba who is buried in Baki, and there is no Qubbah and there is no dhari over his grave. Today we're here to pay tribute to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba for the sacrifice that his children gave on the day of Ashura. And you have Abdullah al-Asghar. Abdullah al-Asghar was 11 years of age. The Maqtal mentions on the day of Ashura, when Imam al-Hussein was all by himself, and Sayyid al-Shuhada has performed a jihad, as you will see in the Maqtal. A jihad where the Malaika saw in Imam al-Hussein, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. The Imam was attacked with such intensity. Shaykh al-Tustari mentions that there were 114 sword wounds on the body of Imam al-Hussein. This is not to count the spears. This is not to count the arrows. 114 were just wounds from swords. When he eventually, Imam, fell from the Dhuljana, the Maqtal mentions that one of the sons of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, the youngest one, Abdullah al-Asghar, he was in the Khaymaga and he was looking at Imam al-Hussein. For when he saw Imam al-Hussein fall from the horse, the narrations mention that Abdullah tried to run out of the Khaymaga. So Sayyida Zainab kept holding on to him, but he would refuse one way or the other. He escaped from Sayyida Zainab. The Maqtal mentions that this child ran from the Khaymaga towards Imam al-Hussein. He ran towards him. At this time, Imam al-Hussein was on the plains of Karbala. One of the enemies was coming to strike Imam al-Hussein. The narrations mention Abdullah cried out to him, "O enemy of Allah, how dare you attack my uncle?" The narration mentions that Abdullah went running towards Imam al-Hussein. So the enemy was about to strike Sayyid al-Shuhada. Abdullah, little child, when he saw that they are attacking his uncle with a sword, he put his hand to defend Imam al-Hussein. The narration mentions that the enemy cut the right hand of Abdullah. Allah, the strike was in such a manner that the arm of Abdullah was hanging from the elbow. Shiat Amir al-Mu'mineen, do you know what happened over here? The narration mentioned Imam al-Hussein فَذَمَّهُ عَلَى صَدْرِهِ. Imam al-Hussein hugged the child who is crying, who is bleeding. Half his arm is hanging. Imam al-Hussein hugs him and he says to him, "Sabran ya bani, have patience, O my nephew, for indeed after today there is no pain for you, and we will be reunited with our grandfather." While he was saying this to his son, the Maqtal mentions Hurmala took an arrow and he shot it towards Abdullah in the hands, in the chest of Imam al-Hussein. This young son of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba becomes shaheed. Allah. Sadat of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, Mazloom. All this time, the Bani Hashim are going one by one seeking shahadat from Imam al-Hussein. The Maktal mentions that every time Shah Qasim would come to Imam al-Hussein and he would seek for permission, Imam al-Hussein would turn him away. He would say, no, not you, Qasim. Oh, then Muhammad would go, the children of Aqil would go. But even the brothers of Shah Qasim went. But every time Shah Qasim would go, Imam al-Hussein says no. At one time, the narrations mention that Shah Qasim fell to the feet of Imam al-Hussein. He began to kiss the feet and kiss the hands. He says, uncle, please give me permission to go into the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein says to him, Anta alamata akhi. He says, you are the remainder of my brother. How can I let you go, Qasim? Allah, Allah. The narrations mention that Shah Qasim was so saddened the fact that he was not able to go into battle and Imam al-Hussein wouldn't give him permission. The Maktal mentions Shah Qasim went back to his khaymagah. He was sitting on the ground with his head on his knees and he was crying because he didn't have the chance to go. At this time, his mother came to him and she said to him, "O Qasim, where your father, Imam al-Mujtaba, said to me on his dying bed, he put a ta'weed, he gave a ta'weed, and this was to be tied around your hand. Then your father said to me that if there ever comes a time where Qasim is felt or is faced by extreme difficulty, then open the ta'weed because the solution will be there." So Qasim thought to himself, I have never been afflicted by a bala like today. The hadith mentions and the Maktal mentions Shah Qasim opened the ta'weed from around his arm. He opened it and it was a letter from his father, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. In the letter it is written, Ila waladi Qasim, to my son Qasim, Usika, I gave you a testimony. Usika idha ra'ayta ammaka al-Husayn wa kad ahatatahu a'da bi Karbala. Allah, my witness or my will to you is, oh my son Qasim, if you see your uncle Hussein in Karbala and he is surrounded by the enemies, فَلَا تَتْرُكُ الْبَرَازِ وَالْجِهَادَ عَلَىٰ أَعْدَاءِ اللَّهِ وَأَعْدَاءِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Then do not leave the jihad and do not abandon the fighting against the enemies of Allah and the enemies of Rasulullah. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba then ends the wasiyah by saying, وَلَا تَبْخُلْ بِرُوحِكَ عَلَيْهِ. Do not be stingy when you're defending Imam al-Hussein. Yani, do not think that your life is more important than the life of Abu Abdullah. Allah, Allah, Ya Shi'at al-Muhammad. The Maktal mentions when Shah Qasim saw this, he kissed the letter and he put it on his forehead. There was a smile on the face of Qasim. He went running to the khayma of Imam al-Hussein. He showed Imam al-Hussein the letter. The Maktal mentions Imam al-Hussein read the letter. Tears began to flow down his eyes. The Maktal says that Imam al-Hussein hugged Shah Qasim. وَبَكَى حَتَّى أُغْمِيَ عَلَيْهِمَا. Both Imam al-Hussein and Shah Qasim, they wept so intensely, both of them fainted. Allah, Allah, Ya Shi'at al-Muhammad, both of them fainted. The narration mentions when Shah Qasim gained consciousness. When Shah Qasim gained consciousness, the hadith says, Imam al-Hussein took Shah Qasim into the khaymagah and then he called for Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra. He says to her, "Oh Zainab, bring the sanduk or the chest from the khaymagah." The narrations mention Imam al-Hussein removed the sanduk from the chest. He opened it and he removed the kaba of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. He removed the amama of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. He tied the amama around the head of Shah Qasim and then he took out a robe of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, but Shah Qasim was only 13 to 14 of age, so the garment of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba was too big. Today I saw in the Maktal, it is narrated within the older books, that Imam al-Hussein wrapped the garment of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba in the same way that a coffin is tied on a person. He tied the garment of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba like a coffin, and then he put the sword on Shah Qasim. He says to Shah Qasim, go into the Khaymaga and bid your mother and bid your auntie Zainab farewell. Allah, Allah, ya Zainab. The narration mentions Imam Shah Qasim entered into the Khaymaga wearing the amama of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. His face, it was such a resemblance. When he entered inside the Khaymaga, Sayyida Zainab stood up and she looked at him. She said, Akhi Hassan. Oh, my brother Hassan. Allah, Allah. Shah Qasim hugs the women. He hugs Sayyida Zainab. He bids her farewell. He hugs his mother Farwa and he bids her farewell. The narrations mention that Shah Qasim went into the Maidan on foot brandishing his sword. He looked towards the enemies. This is the courage within the children of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. The Maqtal mentions he walked proudly and courageously into the battlefield. He looked right into the heart of the battlefield and he cried out to Umar ibn Sa'ad. And he said to him, O Omar, ya Omar, Ataddai Islam wa ali Rasul utasha. He says, do you call yourself a Muslim? And the family of Rasulullah are thirsty. So Umar ibn Sa'ad replies back to him and says, Ila mata hada tajabbur. Until when will you remain to be arrogant? Pay allegiance to Yazid. At this time, Shah Qasim said to him, indeed you have violated the rights of Rasulullah and the family of Rasulullah. The narrations mention that Shah Qasim charged and attacked into the battlefield like a raging lion. All this time reciting poetry and saying to them, in tunkiruni fa ana ibnul Hassan, najlun nabiyil Mustafa wal mu'taman, hadha Husseinu. Allah. He says, if you do not know me, I am the son of Hassan al-Mujtaba. I am the grandson of Rasulullah, the Prophet Mustafa. This is Hussein that you have placed under siege over here. Allah, Allah. And by people who have absolutely no values. The Maqtal mentions that Shah Qasim attacked them in such a ferocious manner. He went right into the heart of the field. In the first attack, he attacked and killed 200 of the enemies, sending them to Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. They were not able to counter Qasim. So Umar ibn Sa'ad said, Ahjimuhum bil hijara. He said, throw stones upon Shah Qasim. So they threw stones on Shah Qasim from every direction. In the Maqtal I read that there were 55 wounds on the body of Shah Qasim. Shah Qasim still went pressing forward. So he attacked the second rank of the enemies. In this second rank, Shah Qasim sent 70 of the enemies to Jahannam wa bi'sal masir. No one was willing to come forward and attack Qasim. Allahu Akbar. Qasim is standing on the battlefield. No one is willing to come forward at that moment. At that moment, Shah Qasim looked down. Hamid ibn Muslim says, Allah, that this young man, his face was like the shining moon. Shah Qasim looked down and he saw that the lace of his left sandal is open. So Shah Qasim bent down to tie the lace, as if to tell the enemies that you are not worth even the lace of my sandal. Ya Shi'at al Muhammad, I don't know if you will be able to hear, but the narrations mention that as Shah Qasim tied down to tie his lace, one of the enemies by the name of Amr al-Azadi came. He came charging towards Shah Qasim from behind. The Maqtal says, فَضَرَبَهُ بِسَيْفِهِ عَلَى رَأْسِهِ. This Zalim, Allah, he was such a coward. He didn't even attack Qasim from in front. From behind he came and he struck Shah Qasim with a sword on the head. Allah, Allah, Ya Shi'at ala Muhammad. There are three things that happened when he struck this La'id, struck Qasim with a sword on the head. The Maqtal says, فَفَجَرَ حَامَّةً. Fajara Hamata means he split open the skull of Qasim. Shiat Ali Muhammad, forgive me. The strike was so intensive. Not only did it split the skull of Qasim, the intensity of the strike was, the Maqtal says, فَوَقَعَ الْغُلَامَ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. That Shah Qasim, the intensity of the strike, the splitting of his skull, Qasim fell on the plains of Karbala face first. Salam on those cheeks of Shah Qasim that are covered with the sand of Karbala. Allah, Allah. Do you know what the Maqtal says? That when he fell down onto the ground, the intensity of the strike was such. Every shaheed, when they fell down to the ground, they would cry out, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. But do you know Qasim? His strike was so painful. His strike was so painful. He didn't say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. He cried out, Adrikni, Adrikni ya Amma, help me. He cried out, help me, oh my uncle. The Maqtal narrates that as soon as Imam al-Hussein saw this, he went charging into the Maidan towards Qasim like a raging lion. Shias of Ali Muhammad, forgive me. This is the Masaib of Shah Qasim. Imam al-Hussein enters into the Maidan charging like a lion. The enemies were so terrified. Enemies on the horses. The horsemen of the right began to flee towards the left. The horsemen of the left are fleeing towards the right. In the middle is the body of Shah Qasim. The Maqtal says, فوتعت الخيل على جسد القاسم بسنابكها. They trampled on the body of Qasim. The broken body of Qasim in the middle. The Maqtal says, فَلَمَّا جَلَتِ الْغَبْرَةِ. Allah. The Maqtal says that when the dust settled down, رأينا الحسين على رأس الغلام. We saw Imam al-Hussein sitting at the head, by the head of Shah Qasim. Do you know what Shah Qasim was doing? The Maqtal mentions, وَالْغُلَامِ يَفْحَسْ بِرِجْلَيْهِ. Qasim was moving his legs up and down out of pain for the broken bones on the body under the hooves. Imam al-Hussein sits by Qasim. He holds the body of Qasim and he says to him, يَعِزُّ وَاللَّهِ عَلَىٰ عَمِّكَ أَن تَدْعُوهُ فَلَا يُجِيبُكَ أَوْ يُجِيبُكَ فَلَا يَنْفَعُكَ. Imam al-Hussein says, Ya Shi'at Ali Muhammad, can you feel the pain of Imam al-Hussein? Imam al-Hussein looks at the broken body of Qasim. Qasim is in pain. Imam al-Hussein says to him, Wallah, it hurts your uncle. It hurts your uncle that you called out to him and he couldn't help you. He couldn't come to you in time. And now that your uncle is next to you, your uncle cannot help you anymore. Wa mazluma. Final part of the Masaib. Allah, Ya Shi'at Ali Muhammad. The Maqtal mentions over here that when the ruh of Qasim left his body, Imam al-Hussein lifted the body of Qasim. The Maktal says, Imam al-Hussein put his chest on the broken chest of Qasim, and then he was walking back to the Khaymaga. The Rawi mentions Qasim was not that tall, Qasim was not that heavy, but Imam al-Hussein was carrying Qasim, his chest on the chest of Qasim. The Rawi mentions as he was taking him towards the Khaymaga, we could see the feet of Qasim dragging on the plains of Karbala. I thought to myself, why would the feet of Qasim be dragging? These are the legs whose bones were broken under the Qasim.
صد پاش بدن ہو گیا یوں ابن حسن کا صد پاش بدن ہو گیا یوں ابن حسن کا ایک ایک عضو خاک پہ بکھرا تھا بدن کا پامال بدن کس طرح مولا نے اٹھایا شبیر نے یوں لاشے قاسم کو اٹھایا اولاد بڑے بھائی کی تھی جان سے پیاری اور جانے لگی جب دشت میں قاسم کی سواری شبیر نے ماں کی طرح سینے سے لگایا اور شبیر نے ماں کی طرح سینے سے لگایا شبیر نے یوں لاشے قاسم کو اٹھایا اور نوشاہ کے بازو پہ جو تعویذ حسن تھا تعویذ میں تحریر یہی ایک سخن تھا قاسم میرے شبیر کا فدیہ ہے خدا را شبیر نے یوں لاشے قاسم کو اٹھایا ریحان شہ والا نے قاسم سے جو پوچھا اے لال شہادت کا مزہ ہوتا ہے کیسا قاسم نے کہا شہد سے شیرین ہے زیادہ شبیر نے یوں لاشے قاسم کو اٹھایا ہے جوان قاسم جوان ہے جوان قاسم جوان ہے جوان
ہے جوان قاسم جوان ہے ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس پر ہے قاسم ہے قاسم قاسم کبھی لاشا دیکھ کے روتی تھی کبھی غش کھا کے گر جاتی تھی کبھی لاشا دیکھ کے روتی تھی کبھی غش کھا کے گر جاتی تھی پامال ہوا تھا بھائی جہاں پامال ہوا تھا بھائی جہاں اس خون پہ گھر کر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے جو ماتمی ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم ہے کبھی لاشا دیکھ کے روتی تھی کبھی غش کھا کے گر جاتی تھی کبھی لاشا دیکھ کے روتی تھی کبھی غش کھا کے گر جاتی تھی پامال ہوا تھا بھائی جہاں پامال ہوا تھا بھائی جہاں اس خون پہ گر کر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے جیو ماتمی ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم ہے قاسم فروان کہا بیٹا قاسم کہہ دینا دادی زہرا سے فروان کہا بیٹا قاسم کہہ دینا دادی زہرا سے غربت کی کمائی ٹکڑوں میں غربت کی کمائی ٹکڑوں میں دیتی ہے سجا کر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے جیو ماتمی ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم ہے قاسم فروان کہا بیٹا قاسم کہہ دینا دادی زہرا سے فروان کہا بیٹا قاسم کہہ دینا دادی زہرا سے غربت کی کمائی ٹکڑوں میں غربت کی کمائی ٹکڑوں میں دیتی ہے سجا کر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم کبھی اس ٹکڑے پر ہے قاسم 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 اکبر یا حسین اللہ 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 اکبر یا حسین ماشاء اللہ یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ اکبر حسین اللہ اکبر یا 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 حسین مل کے اللہ اکبر یا حسین زیر خنجر یا حسین زیر خنجر یا حسین نوکے سنا پر یا حسین اللہ اکبر سن کے ماتمی حسین اللہ اکبر ماشاءاللہ یا حسین اس نے کس طرح سمیٹا قاسم نوشاہ کو اس نے کس طرح سے روکا لب پہ آخری آہ کو ایک ایک ٹکڑا پکارا ایک ایک ٹکڑا پکارا تھا بکھر کر یا حسین اللہ اکبر 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 بلند اللہ سب مل کے باؤ سے بلند حسین اللہ اکبر جیو ماتمی حسین اللہ اکبر ماشاءاللہ یا حسین اس نے کس طرح سمیٹا قاسم نوشاہ کو اس نے کس طرح سے روکا لب پہ آخری آہ کو ایک ایک ٹکڑا پکارا ایک ایک ٹکڑا پکارا تھا بکھر کر یا حسین اللہ اکبر 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 جیو ماتمی سلامت رہے یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا ثانی ساتھ میں پڑھنا ہے یا زیر خنجر یا حسین مل کے پڑھیں زیر خنجر یا حسین زیر خنجر یا حسین نوکے سنا پر یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ یا حسین نوکے نیزہ کے مسافر تو عظیم اور سر بلند بیبیوں کے سر کھلے ہیں یوں تیری آنکھیں ہیں بند آنکھ ہے سجاد کی آنکھ ہے سجاد کی تو کا سمندر یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ مل کے جیو ماتمی اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ اکبر ماشاءاللہ یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین یا حسین. یہ اگر محشر نہیں ہے پھر بھلا محشر ہے کیا؟ ہے کھلے سر بنت زہرا یہ ہے محشر سے سوا. غیر کی ہر ایک نظر ہے غیر کی ہر ایک نظر ہے مثل خنجر یا حسین اللہ اکبر 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 یا حسین یا حسین. زیر خنجر یا حسین زیر یا حسین نو کے سنا پر یا حسین اللہ اکبر یا حسین اللہ. الوداع مصرع پیش کر رہا ہوں. اللہ اکبر یا حسین یا حسین. آخری سجدہ وہ تیرا اور مصلی کربلا روز عاشورا ہوا کعبے کا قبلہ کربلا. کربلا ہے وہ جہاں کربلا ہے وہ جہاں بکھرا تیرا گھر یا حسین اللہ اکبر 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 یا حسین اللہ اکبر.
بسم الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله